something shifted in your financial atmosphere within the last 48 hours, and you did not feel it with your hands or see it with your eyes. But deep in the part of you that knows things before they happen, something moved, a ceiling that had been holding your finances in place for years just cracked open. Not because you got lucky, not because something finally went your way by accident, but because a threshold was crossed inside you, a level of internal development so complete, so undeniable that the universe had no choice but to begin matching your outside world to your inside one. In all of spiritual history, across every wisdom tradition and every sacred record ever preserved, there is one event that teachers and prophets described as almost cosmically impossible. And that is the moment when a soul's internal frequency becomes so aligned with its true purpose that material reality is literally forced to reorganize around it. Because the physical world is always the last thing to change, it is always the slowest to respond. And when it finally does move, it moves all at once. Which is why what is coming toward your finances now will not look like a slow climb, but will look like a sudden arrival of everything that was always meant to be yours. Think carefully about a decision you made recently. Perhaps you chose to walk away from a situation that was paying you, but costing you your peace. Or you held your standard when pressure was telling you to lower it. Or you kept building quietly. In a season when nothing visible was happening, and everyone around you had already given up, because that decision, that one quiet act of choosing your worth over your comfort, was not small. It was the exact signal the universe had been waiting for, the confirmation that you were finally ready to receive at the level you had been internally becoming. What you did not realize is that both darkness and divine intelligence had been studying your financial behavior for far longer than you know, watching not just what you earned or spent, but watching how you responded when money was scarce, watching whether fear made you compromise, watching whether lack made you bitter, watching whether the gap between your vision and your reality caused you to shrink or caused you to sharpen. And the data they collected about you has been building a case, and that case is now complete. They watched you when your account was at its lowest, and you still found a way to give something, however small, to someone who needed it more than you did. They watched you when an opportunity came that would have brought fast money but required you to betray your values, and you turned it down even though turning it down hurt. They watched you when people around you were winning and your season had not come yet, and you celebrated them genuinely without bitterness, without shrinking, without losing your belief that your time was also coming. And every single one of those moments was a financial integrity test, and you passed every one. Because of what they witnessed, beings operating at the highest levels of divine governance looked at everything you had walked through, everything you had chosen, everything you had refused to become despite the pressure, and they classified you as something that the financial realm rarely produces, which is a soul whose relationship with abundance is so grounded in character that prosperity in their hands does not corrupt but multiplies, does not inflate the ego but expands the mission. And a soul like that is not just ready for wealth. A soul like that is dangerous to every system designed to keep people financially bound. And as this recognition was being recorded, something even greater was taking place, because the divine presence that governs all things, in whatever form you understand that presence to be, turned its full attention to your specific financial story, not as an observer, but as an active architect, and began aligning people, ideas, contracts, and connections in a sequence designed specifically for the version of you that now exists, a version that finally knows its worth, the version that will steward what is coming without losing what it took to get there. Then a decree went out, irreversible and absolute, that the financial drought over this soul's life was finished, that the gap between their internal level and their external reality would now begin closing at a pace that would surprise even them, that the discipline they practiced in private would now produce results in public, that the seeds of integrity they planted in seasons of lack would now come up as a harvest they had almost stopped expecting. What you are is not someone who is still waiting to arrive financially. You are an ancient soul who is always wealthy in the ways that matter first. Wealthy in character, wealthy in clarity, wealthy in the kind of wisdom that cannot be bought or borrowed. And now the material dimension is simply catching up to the spiritual dimension that has been ahead of your bank account for a very long time. Your mission in this new financial season is not simply to accumulate, but to demonstrate, to show the people watching your life that money that comes through integrity grows differently, stays longer, and opens doors that hustling alone never could. That when your finances are built on the foundation of who you actually are, they do not collapse when storms come, because they were never built on luck or circumstance, but on the unshakable ground of your character. Watch what begins happening now. Watch how conversations start presenting opportunities you did not go looking for. Watch how people begin reaching out with ideas, collaborations, and offers that align with exactly what you have been quietly building. Watch how resources begin appearing through channels you had forgotten about or never even considered, because the support behind your financial movement now is not ordinary. It operates outside the rules that govern ordinary financial timelines, and it will show you that clearly. The most remarkable part of your financial elevation is that you will not be able to keep it to yourself, not because you will announce it loudly, but because the shift in how you carry yourself, the confidence that comes from finally seeing your outer world begin to match your inner one, will be visible to everyone around you, and people will start asking what changed. And your answer will awaken something in them too, because your story of patience, integrity, and aligned prosperity is exactly the story someone in your circle has been desperate to hear. And you are not the only one, because right now across this world, thousands of souls who went through the same invisible season you went through, who were financially frustrated but spiritually growing, who kept their standards when it would have been so much easier to lower them, are all receiving the same financial activation at the same time. And together, without even knowing each other's names, they are about to shift the entire conversation around what it means to build wealth from the inside out. So here is what you do right now. You stay until the very last second of this message, because what comes at the end is the part that will confirm everything you just heard. You drop 777 in the comments as your declaration that your financial alignment has begun. You share this immediately with someone whose spirit has always been richer than their bank account, because they need to hear that the gap is closing for them too. And you subscribe so that every message designed for souls at your level reaches you the moment it is released, because your financial story is not over. It is only now truly beginning.